Hi, everyone. It is Wednesday. It's the last Wednesday of the month, and you know what that means. It's time for our live Facebook chat. So, I don't know. I just got a wait 1 minute. Okay. I'm waiting for my cue. There's my cue. Okay, everyone. So, we are live last Wednesday of the month, and that means that we have our Facebook chat, and it is partially sponsored by Vistaprint. And our featured guest for today is Jacqueline Hunter from Craftadian. So if you know nothing about Craftadian, you should know about Craftadian because I have to say, I don't know how long ago I met Jacqueline, but I know I had the pleasure of going to one of her shows earlier this year, and I am amazed. Probably about 3 years, around that.
Yeah, 3 years.
And I'm floored by what she is able to do and how she's able to promote these makers and give them that kind of forum to showcase what they do, because what people do with these hands, it's amazing. They make things. That's why they're called makers. But I'm not the expert on that. I will have Jacqueline explain to you everything about the makers movement. And yeah, that's really it. So I'm going to hand it over to Jacqueline. If you do have questions, please remember to type them underneath this feed. We will be checking them throughout the chat. We'll be going until 9 o'clock. And yeah, ask away. So, Jacqueline.
Hi, Facebook world. My name is Jacqueline Hunter, and I'm the show director for Craftadian. Our sole mission is to showcase, support, and promote makers. First off, the question I get asked the most is, what is a maker? So my definition of a maker is anybody that is an artist, an artisan, or a designer and makes things by hand. Our company is called Craftadian, and we support, promote, and showcase local designers, artisans, and makers. We do that through online learning, our shows, and in-person promotion. So I'm just going to kind of fly by the seat of my pants today for this Facebook chat. I thought I'd start talking about the maker movement and why people like to shop local, and then maybe dig into if you're interested in starting a business and you are a maker, or how we as show organizers, what we like to see. So first of all, the maker movement is basically, it's huge right now. Everybody wants to shop local, buy local, and people buy from people that they like, know, and trust. So it's important for you as a maker or any business owner to be able to tell your story and tell your brand. So if you're interested in starting a handmade business, it can be a lot of fun and it can bring a lot of satisfaction. But if you don't do your homework first, it can be a little bit daunting and may turn into a nightmare. So first, you want to be a maker, you got to make some awesome stuff. The most important part of a handmade business is the handmade craft. So that could be jewelry, whatever you're passionate about what you do. Be authentic with your product and kind of tell how you make it. Maybe you don't know what you can make yet. So you can always start with taking a class. I know when I first started out in this business, I took a workshop at Michael's and I wanted to learn embossing, which is with a heat gun on paper. And I took a class. I loved it. I got passionate about it and I started doing it. So you could take a class, maybe test it with your family and friends. See like, hey, would you buy this? Do you like this? What could I do to improve it? Now, let's say you're already doing something. Maybe you knit, maybe you crochet, maybe you make jewelry, woodworking, steel. Now you want to take it and make it a business. One of the most important things is picking a name. I wish I kind of did this step a little more thorough when I first started out. When we first started out, our show was called Made by Hand because I thought, hey, you make stuff by hand. Why not call it the Made by Hand show? When it came to trademarking it and trying to get a trademark, obviously Made by Hand is too generic. So we had to come up with a new name. Now, if I did my homework originally, I would have skipped this whole process. So some of the important things of when you're picking a name is, does it describe your product or your service? Is it unique? Can people say it, pronounce it, and remember it? Is the URL, all the social media icons, are they all available? Because you want to make sure that, you know, if my new business was Craftadian, I wanted to make sure that the website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the channels could all be the same. The next important thing I always get asked is how to price my work. So you want to take into account how long it took you, what the materials cost, and actually pay yourself an appropriate wage. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. A lot of people, when they're first starting out, they don't want to jump into the craft market or selling at shows. Maybe they start selling online like Etsy or Spotify. Maybe they start selling on Facebook or through their friends, through their coworkers. And gradually, as you build enough stock, you'll be able to apply and participate in shows. So there's lots of different types of shows: craft shows, fairs, festivals, there's school bazaars. You want to look at where your customer is. So if you're a baby vendor, maybe the school bazaars, church bazaars, baby shows are appropriate for you. But if you sell high-end jewelry, you don't really want to be at a school bazaar. You would rather be at a higher end kind of market. So if you're looking for shows in your area or trying to find, where do I find? The best place to start is Google your local craft councils. So there's Ontario Craft Council. In Hamilton here, there's a Hamilton Craft Council. There's lots of blogs, Facebook groups where people are chatting about shows or upcoming shows. Your tourism board, community event calendars, Kijiji and Craigslist, maybe not so much, but if you're just starting out and you want to find those introductory shows, that would be a good avenue. One of the best bet is just going to shows that you're interested in, walking around, talking to vendors. Hey, what other kind of shows do you exhibit at? People love to chat and share. When you're thinking about doing a show or a market, I always say, do your research. Test it out, be a customer first. Most show organizers, if you're interested in being a vendor, if you contact the show, they'll usually give you complimentary passes, especially if there's a paid admission. I know anybody that's interested in my show, I always say, come as a shopper, see the venue, see the layout, see if it's the right market for you before you invest in the show. I have a really good blog that talks about if you're interested in applying. One of the questions I always get asked is, what's a juried show? So that's a term. So most of the larger craft shows are juried. What juried means is we look at your product, your application, and you have to apply to be in it. You don't just apply, get a spot. It's not a first come, first serve. Those shows are curated. You're often in lower competition, so it won't be a saturated market of all jewelry or all body care vendors. The show organizers usually take into account, the show organizers take into account, how many jewelers there are, how many woodworkers, and we curate it and base it on selection. There's usually a committee, so it's usually 3 to 5 people, and they sit and they go through everything that's in your application. One of the biggest things, especially right now, if you're thinking of applying for Christmas markets, you need to start now, because a lot of markets are either have applications open now or are closing very soon. Most shows, the applications are 3 to 4 months in advance of the show. So you want to make sure that you're applying ahead of time. I wrote a really good blog post, and it's about applying to juried shows and what we're looking for. So there's 3 things you want to read, know, follow, and photos. So I'm just going to do this quick screen share so you can see the blog post. So there we go. So this is, if you go to craftadian.ca, we'll be sharing this link on the Facebook Live show. So it talks about what a juried show is, read the applications, photos of your work, some of the tips on how to impress the judges, and then photos of your booth, making sure you follow all the application details. And if you have any questions, you can always ask an organizer. So I'm going to leave that out there. I'm not going to go through it in detail, but you guys can look at that as an additional resource for later on. So the biggest thing about shows and applying is photos. Now, whether you're selling an application or you're selling online, photos sell your work. So remember, people can't touch, they can't see your product, or sorry, they can't touch, they can't taste your product. So you want to be able to showcase it and tell the story, and photos is one of the biggest things. Too often with applications or even in Etsy shops, I see, poor lit photos, photos that are, blurry or have a funny background. I always suggest using a white or well lit photo. So I'm going to share with you some really awesome photos just to give an idea. I don't know if everyone can see this. There we go. So as you see here, you can use wood backgrounds and white backgrounds tend to really showcase handmade products really well. So you can see when it's white, your eye is really drawn into the products itself. And with a wood background, especially with like the purse and the soap, my eye still goes to the product and it gives a nice natural contrast. So when you're applying for photos, always make sure it's a single product photo. Us as juries, we don't like collages. It's confusing and it's hard to see the actual product, and only submit the amount of photos that we ask for in an application. So if a show asks for 3 to 5 photos, don't submit 10. It's just overkill and we likely won't even look at all of them. You want to make sure that your photos are well lit. Again, a background wood or plain white. Not only does it look good in an application, but when we're pitching it to media, it's also really easy to sell it through that way. Make sure the products are, your photos are in focus. And often in, especially in show applications, we ask for a photo of your booth. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I don't have a photo of my booth. I've never done a show, or I forgot to take a photo. I always suggest that you either do a mock-up photo in your home or maybe set up a sketch. The mock photo is always the best because it gives the jury a sense of how are you going to display your products. So I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, why do I need photos? Why is photos so important? So not only in show applications, but even in blog articles, like people read articles 94%, they get 94% more views than without images. So images tell stories, especially on Instagram and Facebook. It's all about photos.
What are you doing? What?
Sorry, Nate, go away, please.
Okay.
Close the door. Thank you. So after you've applied for a show, there's 3 things that can happen. You can either be accepted, waitlisted, or not accepted at all. So more often than not, people, when they're either waitlisted or they're not accepted, people freak out and are generally pretty harsh. So what we always advise is, take some time, ask the organizer, what went wrong with my application? How can I improve? We always like giving feedback. So it can give you insight on, how to improve on your photos. Maybe you rushed through an application and didn't spend any time in the details, or maybe you assume that we've known you or we've seen you at other shows that, you're just going to be assuring, and that's not always the case. So, don't be afraid to ask for feedback, and that can go for any advice for any business. If you do get accepted, that's fantastic, but make sure that you learn the rules and, know the rules of the show, know the rules of the venue, and make sure you don't, disobey any rules, especially leaving early. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. And leading up to the show, social media is such a great tool, and it's a free tool in most cases. So don't be afraid to tell your fans or your contacts like, hey, I'll be at the Craftadian show or the such and such handmade market. Offer your customers free shipping if they come visit you. Any incentives where they can come see you in person. You can use your, email marketing, all that kind of stuff. So the other thing that I think is important for the maker community is get involved with a community or make a community of yourself. So whether it's a Facebook group that you join or regular meetups that you participate, Etsy teams is another really good one that a lot of people don't know about, that you can join Etsy teams that are local in your area and you can participate and join and meet up in person. Dwania, is there any questions so far or?
I'm just checking now to see. There have just been comments. A couple of people have been agreeing with you when it came to making sure that the show is not saturated with one type of product, I should say. But if anyone has any questions, please do feel free to post them below. I'm trying to load right now. Kelly, I don't know if you are able to load any comments.
Mommy, where did you get that sign? I think
So I'm just going to keep talking. Maybe
actually,
you did have a question?
There is a question about insurance for shows. So it said, what about insurance for shows? Are makers responsible for their own, and what should they be looking for when it comes to coverage?
So most shows will dictate it. I always suggest, even if a show has insurance, it's only going to protect, the venue itself. So if you're interested in your products, you can always get insurance. Contact your local broker that you do your home or your auto insurance. Sometimes they can give you an extended insurance or a business insurance. There is also a couple companies that do kind of like a per event insurance in the $2 million range. That generally ranges in the neighborhood of $75 to $125 per event. So it's much cheaper to get an annual policy with your broker or with a company. I have a company myself that I can share if people wanted to contact them after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually share my screen, and I'm going to show you a little example of what an application looks like, just to give people an idea of some of the things that they ask for, because a lot of people sometimes they see the size of an application and they're like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? So just bear with me while I share my screen again. So this is my website. If you go to apply, you'll see some of the show applications. Just to give an example and some insight of what an application might look like. So what you're looking for when you apply is obviously the dates and locations of any shows, the fee, what is included in the fee, like whether you need to bring your own table, bring your own tent, that kind of thing, and when the deadline is. So in this one, for example, you can see that the application deadline is June 16th. It also has special requirements for this one. It's a location-based application. Most applications are general, business name, contact name, email, mailing address. Make sure you fill all these out appropriately. One of the things that is sometimes frustrating when you're filling out an application, especially with the Etsy shop, people just put the name, but then when we try to Google it or try to locate it, we can't find it. So if you can put the full URL, that's always very helpful. And always all your social media avenues. As a jury, not only do we look at your application, your photos, but we also look at social media. So if we have applicant A and applicant B, and you both, have really good photos, your websites are kind of the same, we'll look at social media to really pull that distinction apart. So, if applicant A is only posting once every 3 months or once every 3 weeks, and applicant B is posting every day, daily, obviously we're going to choose applicant B if it came down to like a needle, just because that person is more active and more interactive in their community. So it's kind of one of the things we're looking for. For jury shows, you'll see, what type of craft, describing your craft, how are your products handmade. This is a category that is always left very sparse. So pay attention to, think about what makes you unique. Why should I pick you over other people? Or why should we pick you over other people? What makes your process unique? Maybe you use a different process that someone else does, or a different set of tools, that kind of thing. Listing the other shows that you've been in. This just helps us gain insight of other types of shows that you've participated in. And then tell us about yourself. believe it or not, this part is always left blank. And I'm like, oh, you had an opportunity for 50 words or less to really sell yourself. It's like the last second of your job interview and you've totally missed it. And so, just pay attention for those kind of things. Photos, I always give examples of some kind of photos, a booth photo, and then, we get into the nitty gritties. Always make sure to read the terms and conditions as well. Do we have some chat questions or something that you're trying to post? Oh, I see them now.
Yes, I was going to read the other question to you. Do you see it or?
No, just read it. It's easier.
Okay, so Zara Martinez is asking, she said there are a lot of shows where they require you to have an Etsy shop. If you don't have an Etsy shop, do you still encourage people to apply?
So my shows are not Etsy only driven. A lot of the shows like the Etsy Made in Canada or shows that are run by Etsy teams will require an Etsy shop. That's just a show requirement. It's always good to have some kind of online presence. So if you're not equipped to have a website or anything yet, an Etsy shop is just another avenue that you can promote yourself. If anyone is new to Etsy and wants to open a shop, I have a promo code. If you just use etsy.com/promotions and you use Craftadian, you'll get 20 free listings. So if it's something that you're on the fence, should I open an Etsy shop or not? It's a good opportunity for you to try it almost for free. Some of the questions I get about Etsy is, what are the fees? So it's 29 cents per listing, and then there's a percentage fee once you sell something. I have some courses on Etsy as well. So if anyone wants to continue learning, we can share a promotion code at the end. Sorry. Yeah, so
someone's a little maker in the making.
Yes, I'm sorry. He was supposed to be out of the room, but he's kind of joined the conversation. He's joined live.
Joining the movement.
So from a shopper's perspective, some of the things I hear from shoppers is they really like to shop local and they want to know your story. A lot of people, when they're going through markets or even, going through anything when you're buying, you want to buy from someone that, you can hear the story. I still remember there's a gentleman that I bought a scrub for, and it all started because his daughter had eczema. And that just sticks with me, and then it makes me want to go back and buy from that person again because, you're kind of connected to their story and you feel involved. Another one that I think is really good is what to do when you're at a show, like show etiquette. This is a huge one that people miss more often than not. So I have another blog post that I'm going to do a shared screen with. Share my screen. It's called 10 Tips to Rock It at your next event. So when you're there and you're all set up, you're all smiles, the first tip is gotcha. You got to remember you only have 3 to 5 seconds to get that person to stop at your booth or your table. So you want to grab their eye with your display, make sure it's clean. With displays, it's really intriguing when you have multi layers or risers. People's eyes can draw in. If you have something that's drawn to children, what I used to do when I was a maker selling my cards is I made these string bookmarks, and kids loved them. So I would put them at the corner of the table where kids would touch them because the kid would stop, and now I have the parent's attention. If you can, demo your project. If you have jewelry, maybe you wear it. If you're knitting, I've seen people kind of do knitting or crocheting at their table. I've seen people doing stamping at their table. Something that stops people to, what can they do? If you're a food vendor, obviously sampling, would you like to try a sample of my shortbread cookie? Who's going to say no to that? And then often when you have them stopped, you can, ask them questions.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that people, when they walk by your booth, they know who you are. So many times I've walked by a table and I don't see their business name anywhere. There's no banner, there's no sign. So invest in a roll-up banner like I have here, or even get some a chalkboard sign or something where you can put your business name if you're on a budget. They also make those foam board signs. They're under $10 and you can put it on an easel and look really professional. My tip number 5 is attract. You want to attract customers, samples, candies, a prize draw. When I go to shows for Craftadian, I have a Plinko board, and that's always a draw. People love it. They want to just stick their chip down and, win a prize. I don't know what that is. Oh, no. Oh, okay, there. Advertise. This is another thing I see. If you're going to invest in a market or a show of any sort, you want to tell people that you're going to be there. So make sure you tell your contacts that you're going to be there. Maybe you offer your VIP customers a discount for coming out, or give them free shipping and a free gift. People love to feel like they're your most valuable, your most important customer. Smile, be friendly, start a conversation. A simple like hi, hello goes such a long way. I know I was at a show once and I stood in front of somebody's table for 2 to 3 minutes before they even looked at me. And if I was a regular customer, probably would have walked right by. Price it right. So sometimes people have... Nathaniel, I can't right now, okay? So you want to make sure you price it right. If you have pieces that are $100 or something, try to make sure you have something that's in the lower price range. So if you're a high-end photographer or you sell big, large prints, maybe you invest in some small prints or some cards, something that people can grab at a low value. And then you also want to be able to follow up with people. So many times at shows, I've asked people like, oh, you sold 30 things. Do you have any other contact information? People are like, no. Well, now you've lost those customers to follow up and maybe, invite them to another show or tell them about a promotion you're having.
So this is awesome. I think someone read my mind because I was just thinking about that lovely BBC reporter that went all viral from CNN.
I apologize for the small maker. It's part of being a mom and trying to juggle a business and a life and a home life, and I'm sure so many people can relate.
Exactly. You should talk about that. How is it juggling, doing all these craft shows?
So a lot of people don't know this about me, but I have 2 kids and I also work full time, and then I do the Craftadian on the side. So a lot of people go, oh my God, I don't know how you do it all. So a lot of it is time management. I think whenever you're in any business, you want to manage your time. So it might sound silly, but on my lunch hour at work, I'll be, I'll go to a separate meeting room or I'll go to a coffee shop, and sometimes I'll be on my phone answering emails. Sometimes in the grocery line, I'm doing social media posts. You find time and fit where it can, and often when the kids are in bed, that's where you get the majority of your work done.
Okay, so I am going to insert myself at this moment and give Jacqueline like a few minutes to break and just mention a few things that we have coming up. We as in myself and also Jacqueline, because she does have a lot of craft shows. So we're going to be putting some links below this video for all the shows that she has coming up for the rest of the year. I believe there might be 4 or 5 of them, and she does have her applications open. And remember, she was saying that it's important, if you want to be a part of Christmas shows, to start applying now. Well, her Christmas show application is open, and it is always, a little bit of a fight to get in. So if you are interested in being a part of her shows, she does have them in Hamilton as well as in Mississauga. You should go to her website, fill out those applications, follow all the steps that she did mention earlier. And if you forgot any of the steps, the posts for all the blogs are also on her website, and the link will be all in this feed. So follow the steps, go through the application process, and make sure you submit. So also, I'm very happy that Craftadian is going to be sponsoring the Handmade Market at both of our Immigrant Women Small Business Expos, so one in Ottawa and one in Toronto. So there's lots of opportunities to get involved in things that we both have coming up. And something that we had in, was it February? I don't even remember. It might have been February. That was really eye-opening was we came together and built on our strengths, and we had a makers conference, and that was at least the first one I was involved in. But it was really good to see all these makers finding ways to not only connect with each other, but to try to learn to build in, other business building tools into their business. And it was very eye-opening to see all the struggles that they have, and they were able to talk about it to each other in the room and give us an opportunity to give some insight based on our business to what they can do with theirs. So there are a lot of things going on between the both of us. And yeah, I don't know, Jacqueline, is there anything you want to say about the show itself? Or actually, if you can give the dates for all the shows that you have coming up this year. I remember December 2nd, September 23rd. There are a couple more.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to do a share screen, and I'm going to show you all our upcoming shows because that's the easiest way to show you. So here's a list of all our upcoming shows. Friday, June 16th, we're going to be at Dixie Outlet Mall for a special pop-up makers. There's 15 local makers that are joining me. August 26th, we have Made in Hamilton. Then we do the Etsy Made in Canada. I know someone was asking about Etsy specific, so that's an Etsy specific market where you have to have an Etsy shop. November 11th, we're back in Mississauga for a Christmas market. New this year, we've added November 18th in London, Ontario, which is a new city for us to add. And then December 2nd, we're back in Hamilton. And again, this is all on my website. If you just go to craftadian.ca, you can see them and learn more about them.
Excellent. So that's quite a bit of shows that Jacqueline has coming up. Yeah, I don't know how she does it, but she does it very well. So I am going to stop speaking and hand things back over to Jacqueline. I'll insert myself here and there, but please, thank you for joining us, and make sure that you leave comments and ask questions below this feed, because we definitely want to hear your feedback, any feedback that you might have too, experiences at shows that you might want to share with us. We are looking through the comments, and we will try to address everyone as the event progresses. So back to Jacqueline.
Thank you. I didn't have much more prepared to talk to everybody about, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that stopped in, listened to us, and hopefully you've gained some insight and learned something that you can take and learn either when you do a Craftadian market or any market for that matter. Also, like Dwayne said, feel free to ask questions. If you have any questions post-show that you don't feel comfortable posting live, you can always email me at info@craftadian.ca. I'm all about supporting and helping makers. And if you have any questions, just feel free to post and, connect with me. Also, you can find me online. I'm on all the social networks. Just look for @craftadian.ca @Craftadian. And you can use our hashtag Craftadian if you have any projects that you want to share with us that you want us to see. Dwayne, I'll throw it back to you, and if there's any other questions or comments in the live feed. So.
Okay, I just got a notification I was unmuted. So I think most of the stuff that Jacqueline covered, so in terms of craft shows, I know I am not a craft show expert. I just do the other regular vendor show type, but it would be interesting to know some of the issues that people might have at shows. So Jacqueline, in terms of some of your past vendors, their layouts, have you ever gone through some of your shows and made suggestions to some of the vendors to say, hey, you know what, I know you've just done your layout for your table, but it would probably be best if you did A, B, C, and D. Do you provide feedback to them?
I always provide feedback. So not only when I'm walking around at shows, sometimes, those $1 million ideas just kind of fly at you and like, hey, have you ever tried this? Or I think this would really work for you. I really like collaborations. So when two makers get together and do one thing collectively, that is so awesome to see people working together. I had someone that was an artist but didn't know how to kind of get it onto in printing, so two makers worked together and said, hey, use my print person, and they were able to produce their art on cards and that way. So any of those kind of things. I also sometimes you walk around with shows and I've had to ask people to remove certain things. Either it's wasn't in their application. You know, sometimes people do odd combinations of products. Like, I'm just going to make it really ridiculous, but like body and jewelry. And then you're like, well, you didn't put that in your application, so you have to remove that. I also ask people to remove handwritten signs. It kind of comes across as a garage sale-y when you handwrite your signs, unless it's done really nicely on chalkboard and kind of has that handmade element. So that's where I said, you know, pay attention to the rules of a show, because we will go around and ask people to obey them. And again, one of my biggest pet peeves and my biggest, you know, things as a show organizer is when people intentionally or unintentionally, if anybody packs up early, it's very insulting, as any show organizer will tell you. And, you know, just be respectful. We know you're tired and you just want to go home, but it's okay to do some nice tidying under your table, but don't start removing things from your table. It's my biggest, you know, closing remark, I guess.
Another question. How do you treat food vendors differently from everyone else? Because yes, they're still part of Handmade, but do you have special rules for them? So let's say people who might want to prepare things on site and people who want to bring prepared foods in.
So we always work with the local public health agency. For example, in Hamilton, there's an application and a process, and there's an additional fee if you're a food vendor. The health inspector or public health inspector will usually help us curate that selection, whether it's suitable for public food sales or not. Generally speaking, if you're a food vendor, it has to be prepared in a licensed kitchen. So as daunting as that might sound, even contacting your local church, if they have a licensed kitchen and you do all your prep work in that licensed kitchen and you get them to sign off, that is a way through those kind of rules, because a lot of people don't have a licensed kitchen that they can always go to. So if you can go, you know, piecemeal and do your food prep that way, absolutely no home prepped food is allowed to be sold at any public event. Some shows will allow that, and that actually is illegal.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I have a lot of questions coming.
Sure. Why not?
When you, let's say you've gone through all your applications and you've approved your list of vendors, how do you map out who to put where? So if you have 3 vendors who do, I don't know, different types of soaps or things like that, how do you group things?
So when we are doing the jury process, not only are we saying yes, no, but we also have a number in our head of how many, you know, what's our max jewelry vendors that we can accept, or what's our max body. And when I'm doing the floor plan, I try to take the saturated categories first and place them at separate areas in the show. So I always start with jewelry and I place them as far apart as possible. And then I play, you know, I go down to the next saturated category, which may be body, and then so on. And then I kind of allot people. We also look at the special requests that people write in their application. Maybe they want to be by, you know, put me beside my friend Kelly, or, you know, that kind of thing, or I need electricity, or I need to be by a window or at an end. So we try to take into account all those different elements and putting it into the floor planning. And you're never going to please everybody all the time. So I know sometimes you see your spot and you're like, I wish I was there. But if you didn't tell us that you had that preference or that you wanted to be there, then, you know, we don't know. We can't read minds. So if you have any special requests, sometimes you want to be close to a bathroom or you have accessibility issues, always put that in your application or tell the show organizer privately and in far in advance as possible, so we can make those appropriate requests and accommodate you.
Okay. So I know you have a lot of certain types of vendors. What are the ones that you're always seeking? So if there's anyone out there who are looking for shows and they are this type of maker, what is the shoe-in type of maker that you're usually short of in your application process?
Well, again, it always goes down to jury. So some of the categories that we don't see a lot of right now are candles, steel, anything with steel or metal. I'm not seeing a lot of those kind of applications. And I'm trying to think. Clothing is a really hip thing right now. and there isn't that many competitions. So I don't know if those are your elements. And sometimes you find really unique things that you didn't even know were a category. So for example, I had someone that made pictures out of pebble rocks, and I didn't even know that that was a thing. So sometimes you naturally find.
If you're not a maker, so let's say you're someone like me, if you're not a maker and you want to get involved in your shows, how can you do it?
So we have volunteers. So if you ever want to volunteer at one of our shows, maybe, help out with swag bags or maybe be a front greeter. We're always looking for opportunities there. All of our volunteers always get free admission to the show, so it's kind of a bonus. And if you can only volunteer for a couple hours, hey, bonus, the more hands make the work lighter. So. Oh, yes. Perhaps you're not a maker, but you're a business and you want to get involved. You could do that through sponsorships of shows. I actually just had a meeting with a very nice lady, and we chatted about, how can their business be recognized in our show. And, sometimes just having a little coffee and, getting down the conversation is great. We also do some swag bags. So maybe you can't be in a show with presents, but you have a tangible item that you'd like to include in our swag bag. You can become a Friends of Craftadian and get exposure that way. So there's lots of opportunities, whether you're a maker or not, that you can get involved and promote yourself with or through our events.
Great. I'm trying to come up with a couple more questions. I need to look at the feed to see if there are any questions, because I've been so focused on asking my questions that I haven't checked. Just want to remind everyone again to make sure they go to Jacqueline's site, craftadian.ca, and check out the shows that she has coming up and fill out your application, because you definitely want to be involved. I have to say, I'm wearing earrings from one of her shows. I forgot the name of the company. Is it Dove and Arrow that makes the little heart earrings? My ears are really small, so it might be hard to
It's really hard to hear, but so Dove and Arrow was one of our sponsors. They have a handmade market in Oakville, but the artist may have been Dream Willow.
Yes, it was Dream Willow.
There you go.
I do remember. So yeah, these are really cool. I purchased them because they're little hearts, and they're very nostalgic, because growing up, my parents bought me these 2 interlocking heart earrings, and I still have them, but I've had them for a lot of years. So they're really worn. They're gold, which, it starts getting really malleable and spendy. So when I saw these, I just fell in love and I had to buy them, and I've been wearing them every day since the Hamilton show.
Very cool. Actually, I did think of something now that you were talking about. A lot of times I get asked is, I'm not a business, I can only take cash. Is that okay? Well, with technology now, we have so many options, and a lot of them are free. So if anybody didn't know, you can, in addition to cash at shows, there's also mobile apps that can take credit card, like Square and Dream Payment, which I think also takes debit as well. So if you're a maker, research some of those companies. It's a free app, and you only pay per transaction. So you only pay when you use the item. So I always say people walk around with their cash at a show like gold. And if you say, I take credit card, it's like, oh, cha-ching. And, it increases that impulse buy. So if you can, situate yourself where you can accept credit card and debit, you've now positioned yourself to, greater sales opportunities. Another thing that I see a lot of vendors doing, which I think is really cool, a lot of vendors will do trades. Because don't forget, vendors are shoppers too. So sometimes I see vendors trading products or, vendors shopping, which is awesome. Because who doesn't like to support everybody that they love? So yeah.
Some other unique artists that I saw at some of Jacqueline's shows, I can say henna. That is something that is really cool, and people don't usually look at it as something that should be at a craft show. So she had a henna artist at her last show, and it was She was amazing. I think it's all over Instagram if you're looking for her. I think it's Zoya. Zoya Henna Artist is her.
Yep.
handle.
Yeah, it was great. So that goes back to the opportunity where if you can demonstrate your product. So all it took is one person to start getting their henna work done, and it started to be a, lineup per se. So, having that example, I've often seen people with iPads as well, having a video show of some of their products or a video demonstration of them working, even like a photo flip book, and people have showed pictures of them actually working in their studio, which people can, oh, I didn't realize it was done through that kind of machine, or I didn't know you used that tool, I didn't know it was that technique. So people like, again, telling your story and how it's handmade.
And you also had one of your sponsors give a unique opportunity because they did caricatures.
Yes, so we had Just Energy, which I know people would think like, oh, an energy company at a craft show or at a handmade market. Well, they wanted to connect with the community, and that's where we were, in a community. So they brought in a local caricaturist, actually all the way from Texas, but he was amazing. And he did, characters on site with the sponsor, which was an excellent tie-in. So it goes back to, like, regardless of what your business is, really brainstorm on ways that you can, deposit yourself in different markets and different opportunities. So
one other thing that Jacqueline does that I do like a lot, I have been doing that with my business as well, is to always tie in with a charity. So talk about the charity that you normally tie into.
So we work with Crafting for a Cure. So they're a local charity. They're based out of Vaughan. And if you don't know what they do, they go into hospitals and they give kids an opportunity. They prepare craft kits. So let's say your child has leukemia or any long-term where a hospital stay is required. They get bored. They can only watch so much TV, play so many games. So they actually prepare these craft kits that the kids can do while they're in the hospital. And they ship all over the world. I know they ship as far as Israel. And actually, in a couple weeks, I think it's June 11th, they're having a charity run. So if you want to be venturous and join me and my little guy, we're both going to be running. Now, it's not running. Don't get too worried. It's around a high school track. So if you want to run or walk, in my case, I think it's June 11th. I'll share that link as well, because it's another opportunity where you can support a local charity as well.
Excellent. So I want to just do a little bit of recap, and I am trying to check. There are comments, but I'm trying to go through a little bit to see what's what. I'm looking down in a way because I have another computer right next to me that I'm going through. So there are a couple of blogs posted underneath the feed about some of the things that Jacqueline spoke about. And we did talk about insurance for shows.
Mm-hmm.
Another cool thing that I don't see a lot of, but there are very few that I think would be kind of cool for makers is, I know we all have business cards, but it would be nice for makers to have something that is different from your generic business card. Because yes, it's nice to have a card because I usually want a card with my product, but if your card is really different, I will always remember it and I will keep it in the forefront. So I don't know if you have any of your makers that have really cool cards that represent them.
So one of the most memorable cards that I can think of is I had a wood artist that actually made their business card out of wood. So he took a local, like a piece of wood in the size of a business card, and he actually he was a wood burner. So he burned in wood his business information. And it was a little bit thicker. So, in that stack of business cards, you remembered him and you knew exactly what it is. While you're on the topic of business cards, one of the things I can say to makers is if you can put a picture of your product on your business card, that's key. Because so many times, I know as a shopper myself, I've been to a market, I go around, I collect all these cards, and then you get home and go, who is this guy? Or what did this lady sell again? And sometimes you don't want to go all the way to their website. You need something that's quick that you can see, oh yeah, they did those cement pots that I was looking at, or you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Okay. I'm just, sorry. So we have about 10 minutes left. So Jacqueline, I don't know if you want to do a screen share again, just to share the information about your upcoming shows and any tidbits that you might have, and then I will share information about what we have coming up next.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm gonna jump back to my website, and one of the things that we didn't really talk about, but I thought would be really cool for any makers, is I have an online directory. So hopefully when I click it, you can see it. There we go. So we just launched this a couple weeks ago. We did a revamp of it, and it's an opportunity for makers to list their business, and they're very detailed listings. So it has your business name, a little sentence about you, and then you see all your social media links, your website, email, your website, and even where you're from. So now shoppers can go online, and it's almost like a yellow pages of makers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a special link for you guys. Normally it's a $25 a year to be listed in our directory, which actually isn't even all that much, but I'm going to make it down to $9.99, and I'm going to share it with Dwania. I'll share the link on the Facebook Live page, and you guys can add your full listing for just $9.99, and it's there for the whole year. So Dwania, back to you.
Another cool thing that Jacqueline hovered over that she didn't talk about is her subscription box.
Oh yes. I'll do it. I will. I'll go back to it. Like, see, that's the thing. As an entrepreneur, you do so many things and then you forget what you do. So let's go back.
Why you decided to do books, and tell us a little bit about it.
Let's go back to my subscription box. So this only launched, I think I started it in March, and I was looking for a way of how do I get maker products in the hands of new shoppers. So I decided to do this subscription box. And if any makers are interested in being featured, just get in contact with me and we'll go through it. So basically how it works is it's $34.99. It's a quarterly box. You get 4 to 6 handmade products delivered right to your door. And it ships out. Our next one is August 1st. So this is a little example of our May box. It was a wellness theme. So each month I try to do, or each quarter I do a theme, and I pick, I'm really gearing to makers that are either past, present, or future Craftadian makers, or maybe makers that are in our directory is really what I'm focusing on. And inside the box, there's, all kinds of, it could be jewelry, body care, candles, textiles, basically anything that's made by hand. So that's a little snapshot of our new Craftadian artisan box. Thanks, Dwania, for the little nudge.
I do try to remember as many things as possible. So we have a few things coming up as well. I have just a few minutes to talk about them, but why is it giving me, I keep getting a little error message. Don't know why, but I'll continue to talk. So we have a few shows coming up for the rest of the year. I'm very happy to say I only have 3 shows left, but 2 of them are pretty heavy. So the first one we have coming up, if you'd like to be involved, is our small business seminar in Mississauga. So it's dubbed as the Peel Region Seminar. It's kind of our homecoming because we started doing these seminars in Mississauga. So really, right now we have our vendor spaces open. If you are interested, there will be a link posted at the bottom of this feed. And we only have about 20 spaces remaining. And we have it open to all vendor types, including makers. And we are also looking for speakers for this show. I have 2 speaking spots remaining. And of course, if you're a maker and you're not available for the show, I'm always interested in having swag bag contributions. So you can contact me whenever. It's info@canadiansmallbusinesswomen.ca. The other thing that we have coming up, Kelly, I know I did ask you to post stuff on the bottom, but I'm actually going to do this screen share. And let me just try to close out of some other stuff that I have. And let's see if this will work for me. So This one. As mentioned before, Craftadian is sponsoring the Handmade section of our Immigrant Women Small Business Expo. Now we have 2 expos coming up. One is going to be in Toronto on September 17th, and the other is going to be in Ottawa on October 1st. So this is just the info on the Toronto show here. You can go to immigrantsmallbizexpo.ca and you can get all the information there. And it also has the applications are open now. And then we're going to start making selections. I forgot the date. I think the second week in June. We plan on start making selections.
Yeah, June 16th.
See, Jacqueline knows the dates better than I do. So yes, and this is the information for the Ottawa Expo. So I've already received quite a few applications for these shows, but we have very limited spots for both. Probably about 15 spots for Ottawa and about 26 spots, I believe, 26 or 27 for Toronto. So that is really everything. So first, I definitely want to thank Kelly. Did a lot of hard work in trying to make this happen the way how we're trying out something new this time around for this this chat, because the last time we did the chat, we lost it at the end, and then we had to scramble to just do a 20-minute recap version of it. So this time we decided to try to record it at the same time so that you don't miss out on all of the goods that we're discussing. And so Kelly, Teach Me Social, you always save our lives. Thank you very much. We want to thank Vistaprint, because as soon as this chat is finished, it will be broadcasted on Vistaprint's Facebook page. And they have been a very good supporter of ours since, I don't know, probably about 4 years ago now. And I'm going to give them a shout out because they do have the very first of its kind. They're having a Vistaprint store opening up on King Street. I believe the grand opening is in about 2 weeks. So I'm really excited to see what it's about. It's going to be pretty much everything you can get on their website, but you have people that you can speak to and people who can help you. So it will be exciting. The link will be on their page for sure. And we have quite a few deals from Vistaprint that we will share with you in this link as well. There's a promo code that you can use anytime CSBW, I think it's CSBW, I should probably turn around and find a flyer somewhere, but CSBW 17, and you get 20% off any purchase with Vistaprint. So yes, there's that. And thank you very, very much, Jacqueline. And I would like to thank your co-star as well.
Oh, thanks.
Where is he?
You want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye.
You don't want to make an appearance?
No, now he's all camera shy.
Please,
Yeah. He
mommy.
was a great co-star.
All right,
Yeah,
thank
this
you,
was-
Wayne, for having me. It was a great opportunity. And it was fun.
Great, great. So if anyone also wants to be a featured guest, we definitely have spots opened up. So just send me an email. You will need to be an expert in whatever you plan on speaking on, and it's for a 1-hour chat the last Wednesday of every month. So just send us an email, info@canadiansmallbusinesswomen.ca. And yeah, we will definitely go through all the applications or all the information that we get, and we'll let you know if you'll be featured. It still says I have 2 minutes. What can I talk about for 2 minutes? Any suggestions, Kelly, because you're always in the background, or any questions that anyone might have? Oh, well, Kelly already posted the Vistaprint information. There's also, she posted our link, vistaprint.ca/CSBW deals is the direct website to go to. So you can use the promo code on that site or on any Vistaprint site, vistaprint.ca. But if you go to CSBW deals, they have different deals that they load whenever. And also, one thing she told me to mention that I forgot is our toolkit and membership. So we have a toolkit that we're always looking for experts to do video e-courses, because we launch one on the 1st of every month for our members. So Go to our website, CanadianSmallBusinessWomen.ca, for more information. But I do think it's a wrap. So thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic Wednesday night.